tough loss on the road to McNeese State, in which this team was up 7-0 through three quarters and fell apart special teams in the fourth quarter, a blocked field goal, and then a punt going over the snappers. Over the punter's snap, bad snap going over the punter's head, and it just became a tough day. Then we started to watch this team offensively, right? We saw Noah Biden come in as the starting quarterback. Then we started to look at this offensive line, and for a while, we figured, what is Southern struggling? This team just could not seem to run the ball at all, and it seemed like this O-line was not doing anything to help the cause with blocking. And so as the season began to go on, we watched this team go on the road to Jackson State and completely get dominated in the front. We saw Jackson's defensive line basically push Southern's offensive line all over the place. And what began to happen was the coaching staff began to notice that something needed to take place with this team. Something needed to change, and you had to give guys opportunity, especially offensively on that offensive line and in the quarterback room. And you start to see those adjustments. That was one of the biggest issues last year when people were looking at Coach Eric Dooley and this team. It was, what were the adjustments being made, or was we continuously going to try to force and go for what we know and keep trying it over and over? But what I like about this team, what I like about this coaching staff, or what you see this year, the coaching adjustments. If it doesn't work, you've seen them go away from it, and you've seen this staff not be shy to put people in position. And last week, we had an opportunity to talk with Coach Terrence Graves. And Coach Terrence Graves talked to us about that, saying, whatever it takes to win. That, I believe, within itself shows you, looking at this coaching staff, the type of confidence that you can have in order to make this thing better, because they're not afraid to make sure they put the best person out. Not because you're a senior, not because of somebody you know, not because of any of that, but because you were the best player for that time and for that position to bring Southern home to victory. And we've seen it at the quarterback position, right? We've seen Jalen Woods. We've seen Xavier T-Set along with Noah Biden. All three of these guys have basically been inconsistent, but who I have liked and I think has grown up in front of us over the past couple weeks is Jalen Woods. Now we got to see what kind of consistency can Jalen Woods have, because one thing about these guys, when there's no film out on you, sometimes that can make for an easy day. But the more film that comes out on you, the more these defensive coordinators start to look at your tendencies, they start to see your habits, and they can find your inconsistencies. And typically that's what happens when teams get an opportunity to watch more and more film. So the film is out with Jalen Woods, the film is out with T-Set, and the film is definitely out with Noah Biden. And all three of these guys have their own unique traits and characteristics that they bring and skill set that they bring to the quarterback position. But that has been Southern's problem. The inconsistency at the quarterback position has continuously hurt this team. And you're looking at Coach Mark Frederick, because he's looking at that room and he's like, all right, who's going to be the guy today? Who's going to be the guy today? Jalen Woods came in against Pine Bluff and had a very efficient day, was able to find the explosive plays for this wide receiver core, to be able to get those high-energy plays, those plays that get the crowd up, those plays that get the team fired up. Big plays, explosive plays. Southern was able to have that against UAPB with Jalen Woods. It seems with Noah Biden, the offense kind of sputters out. You're going to find yourself in a lot of three-and-out situations. You're going to find yourself with a quarterback that's rolling out that does not quite look comfortable, nor does he feel comfortable to throw the ball and get it out of his hands, nor does it look like he feels or is comfortable to even run the ball. So it's almost like, yeah, to lose. Noah, you don't want to throw it. Noah, you act like you don't want to run it. So what I'm going to do? And then they bring in T-Set, and T-Set, the other guy, hometown kid right there from Scotlandville, went to Scotlandville High School. Here's a kid that gets an opportunity, comes in, because out of all of these guys, he is the true dual threat quarterback. He can do it with his leg and with his arm. The only thing about T-Set, the growing pains. He's a redshirt freshman. He has to get the experience. And with that experience, sometimes it comes the ups and downs of the position. And that's what you get out of Xavier and T-Set. You're getting the ups and downs of the quarterback position, because at some point you have to realize you ain't have to win it all yourself. At other times, you just got to realize, make the plays that we're asking you to make. You don't got to do too much. And then most of all, I think we all can agree, as long as you keep the ball out of the other team's hand as a quarterback, you all right. And T-Set has had an issue with turning the ball over. He had 2 fumbles when we were at Texas Southern. That was an interception, a pick six, and a fumble. And both those turned into points that almost cost Southern the game against Texas Southern. So when you look at this position of where these quarterbacks, you just ultimately got to find whoever has the hot hand. Now, will we see Noah Biden today? I don't know. Will we see Jalen Woods today? I don't know. Will we see Xavier T-Set? I don't know. I don't know what we're going to see today out of Terrence Gray's team, because it's whoever's had the hot hand up until this moment that we'll see today. He's not going to have no favorites. There's not going to be no favoritism. And then I think on the other side, looking at the run game for Southern, listen, Kobe Dillon and Kendra Grimes are those dudes. And you got to include C.J. Russell. All 3 of those guys, when you go to that quarterback room, C.J. Russell, Kobe Dillon, along with Kendra Grimes, all 3 of them can get it done. They're all different within their own ways. Kendra Grimes is a great out of the backfield, dump it off pass, straight to him and let him go to work. Kobe Dillon hand it off, just let him ground and pound and wear a defense out. And C.J. Russell is kind of a hybrid of both of them. He can get it out of the backfield. He can ground and pound it as well. They're not no big guys. They're elusive backs. Kendra Grimes, he was on the show earlier to start the season. He said he kind of, if he had to compare himself, he would compare himself to that of more of a Alvin Kamara, who plays for the New Orleans Saints. So you kind of get an idea of the type of back that he is, with the shiftiness and everything that comes along with him. But most importantly, you look at this program, you look at these guys offensively, and then you go to that tight end room. You look at Dupree Fuller. You look at Jermaine Minor. You look at those guys who step up big when it seems like the quarterbacks need somebody to dump it off to. And then the offensive line. That has been the biggest change for me, watching them and Coach Damon Nivens, Mark Fredericks, and Terrence Graves go through this offensive line and figure out what formula works, because it seemed like early on in this season, this team could not run the ball, and we were scratching our heads saying, how is it a Southern football team with the running back room that they have cannot eclipse 100 yards rushing on the day? That was a huge, huge thing for a while, because I started to look around and I started to make me nervous, and I'm sure it made a lot of you nervous on what the hell is happening with this team. And I told you, Grambling started 3-1. Southern started the opposite way. Southern would at one point was 1-2 with his only victory against Savannah State at home, having lost to McNeese and then having lost to Jackson. And then we were kind of looking at, oh, my God, where are we going from here? What this team is going to be? What is this going to happen with this place? But they figured it out. They won the SWAC Western Division title. And, of course, we got to always take our hats off to Coach Henry Miller and what he's been able to do with that Southern's defense. No doubt about it, the past 3 years, Southern's team has been in ball games, not because of his offense, but simply because of his defense and what that defense has been able to do. You're looking at Kelby Givens right now, Buck Buchanan Award finalist. He's on the list right now for Defensive Player of the Year on the FCS level. That goes to show you what kind of talent Southern has on that defensive side. He came into the season the SWAC preseason Defensive Player of the Year. Southern had its issues from the defensive back position. But you look at the league this year, there was no true quarterbacks to really try to target that Southern secondary, except maybe for me, Daniel Richardson at Florida A&M and maybe Jacoby Morgan at Jackson State. Those 2 guys with the weapons around them, for me, I think have the best quarterbacks, Jackson and FAMU, when you look at can potentially target that Southern secondary. But other than that, Southern secondary is pretty much held strong. Southern's defense is pretty much bend but don't break type of mentality. And when you needed them most, they stepped up. 3 overtimes this year Southern has been in, against Prairie View, against Texas Southern, and as well as against a 5 overtime against Bethune-Cookman. You need your defense when you got that short yardage, and Southern's defense on those short yardages have held up and gave Southern those 3 victories, all helping them to help capture that SWAC Western Division title.